Welcome back, everybody. Today I've got a pretty cool technique to show you. I call it Greeble Elements. It's a little similar to what I did before, uh, with a little variation to it. It's going to add a lot more depth to your models. As you can see, the cyborg creature that you got in front of you right now, I only used two textures. Ended up only being four ring 3Ds, which actually makes up the body, and then used about 3 spheres to make up the inner core of the chest, along with a couple arms and a head. The head I designed last year. The arms I actually stole off of one of the models that come with Zbrush. But this is a really cool technique. It's a little different, a little more manual labor to it to create the textures, but it's relatively quick and easy. And so why don't we go into Zbrush and we will get started with it. So here we are in Zbrush here, and I need you to go ahead and load up the tool that I supplied you. It's called Greeble Elements. And basically all it is like my Greeble generator, but I broke it apart into individual subtools and placed it all into one file for you. So load that up. There's about 16 different subtools in there. So drag it onto your canvas there. Hold down Shift to constrain it, and then T to edit. So we're gonna take a quick look at the tool real quick before we start actually making textures. I'm going to go ahead and change my material to basic so we can just see it a little easier. Let me frame him up. He looks like a hot mess right now. They're all intermixed with each other there, but that's okay. Let me go ahead and click solo. Alright, so the first one, let me open up my subtool panel here so you can see it, is just kind of like the placeholder. It's just a box, really, just a flat plate. So there ain't a whole lot to that one, but we can actually do something here in a minute with it, and I'll show you. Let's go on to plate 2, plate 3, 4, 5, 6, and go to 7. And now we get into the pipes. I got 2 of them in here for you. I got the 3 pipes there. Then I also got just a regular, well, kind of techie pipe. And then let's see, what else do I have here? I got my piano keys. If you've all watched my previous videos, you know I love these things, and they make great textures. And let's see, I've got a couple tech panels as well. There's a second one here. Then I got this port, or it could be a port or something. It's whatever you want it to be. If you can guess what I'm fixing to use that for, just go ahead and leave a message in the comments. Then I've got these very cool tech panels. Visually, they don't look, too crazy cool. But if I go into my surface panel and go under Edit and load it up, it's got a texture built into it. And you can actually go in and manipulate it, scale it up, scale it down, increase the strength, or even add another one. So you turn the alpha on and off, and then turn it back on, and you can load up another texture in there. I'll have a few of them for you, just 3 of them to get you started. But you can actually, if you wanted, if you have a bunch of Greebles that you made with a Greeble generator, take your depth map and plug that into it, and you can do this with it, and increase the strength, and you can make a really high-tech looking panel real simply. Click OK, and boom, there you go. And the reason it's not affecting the borders if you all the plates and panels have a mask built into them, and you just need to go to your mask palette and then click View Mask, and you can see it. But I have them all turned off there just for, I don't know, I guess OCD, and it bugs me, I guess. So I got them all turned off for now. So if you're manipulating these models, remember there's a mask built into almost all these subtools. So moving on, we got another tech panel with that, with the same thing with this one. This one's got a little texture built into it, and all you have to do is go to Surface and click Edit, and you can edit the panel. Now, if you want to go in the other direction, this is all done in camera space. So it's clicked on 3D, and go ahead and click it off, turn it upright, and then activate it again. And there you go. Now he's going the other direction. And then you can change the scale. Careful not to get too close to it, because they're only the textures are only like 512 by 512. So if you get real close to it, you can see all the jaggies coming in there, and that's going to affect your texture generation here in a minute. So click OK. There you go. Now you just customize your panel, and you can do that with all of them. You know, so let's go back to, say, like plate 1. You can click Noise. It already has a mask built into it. So go ahead, click, and we'll put that Greeble in there. And you just flip H. Take that basic noise mix down, and then put him in the positive direction. And there you go. Now you got this nice, pretty little panel there that you can use in your textures. So that's basically all there is to it. So let's go ahead and move on to actually creating those textures I showed you earlier. Okay, this is kind of a newer way that we're doing things in comparison to my Greeble generator. So go ahead and go to your document, turn Pro off, and stay open there. Change the width. We're just going to work on a 1K. And then resize them. Yes. Continue. Control N. And zoom out depending on your screen size there. Mine's small in comparison to some of yours out there. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be messing with 2.5D. But there's some neat tricks to it that you can do tileable textures with this. So let's go ahead and drag back on our canvas here. Let's get one of our panels up here, and we're going to go ahead and T for edit, and keep all your moves and scales and rotates over here. We're going to be using them quite a bit. So let's go ahead and start with something here. So we're going to scale them down just a little bit here. And we want a lot of negative space. So let's go ahead and do, when you got them in a decent spot there, do a Shift S. And it takes a snapshot onto the canvas. We can scale them down just a little bit more. Do a Shift S. Move him out of the way there. If you do N, you can go through all your subtools. Let's get my piano keys out here. I like them. And then just rotate them around, and we'll plug them into a couple spots here. Shift S. Control Z, let's see. So let's go ahead and scale him up just a little bit. Have him go the other direction. Shift S. So let's change our panel. Let's get some. Let's see, what do we want to use? We'll just get this regular plate here. Just move him over here. Shift S. And then we'll rotate him around. And I mirrored everything so they will, so you can see them from both sides, so it doesn't matter if you rotate anything. So that'll come in quite handy for you. Now let's go ahead and, what do I want to do here? Alright, so let's get out of edit mode and find your tilde key. If you're not sure what the tilde key is, it's a wavy line. Should be underneath the escape key, at least it is on most Windows. I'm not sure where it is on Mac, but if you just click and hold it, oops, and then drag. Sorry for the screen grab, guys, they're going crazy on me. So, but now everything's nice and tileable. So this is a good way to change some things. So now we just got to draw back onto our canvas again, hold shift to constrain it, make sure you get into edit mode, and we'll move him out of the way. Now let's put some pipes connecting everybody. So in, we'll get the big pipe there. Alright, so we're going to scale him up, and you always want to make sure, I always put the pipes underneath everybody. It's just easier that way. And as you can see, you're having trouble doing that. You can either switch over to take edit off and go to move and use the old gimbal system, or you can go into your deformation and select offset, turn everything else off and just leave Z, and then you can just move him in and out of Z space there. So we want to scale him up and make sure all these panels are getting connected. Okay, so Shift S. We'll turn him around here. We may have to adjust the Z space again. That's okay. And just to be on the safe side, make sure he's not too deep into Z space there. Alright, so Shift S him. And then let's switch over to pipes. 3 pipes. I'm going to move these guys in and out here. And for every subtool, you're going to have to adjust that offset to Z. And bring him up to make sure he's just underneath there. So Shift S. Move him over. We can scale him up if we like. As we can see, he's protruding there, so we're going to have to adjust the Z just a little bit. Looks like it's, there we go. Now we got him just underneath the other pipes. Alright, so let's go ahead and go out of edit mode and use our tilde key to move everything around here, because we want to make sure everybody's connected here. And let's see, I want to put, okay, so let's draw. If you drag and draw onto something, usually it gets it close to the Z space you need to be at. So click back on edit, move him, and we're going to change him. I want to throw in one of these tech panels, because I want to show you what happens on occasion, not all the time. I'm going to turn him here. There we go. Let's see how high he is. Check our height, because we don't want to be too high or too low to him. And see, even with that surface noise on there, it's still going to capture the depth, which is really cool. So we'll go ahead and do a Shift S. Now let's get back to our pipes here. Scale him up, and then offset our Z. Okay, and Shift S in. Now, scale him up a little bit here. This way everybody's all interconnected with something. And we're offset him, make sure we're not going too far. And then I need scale him down. I'm going to put one right behind here. Try to anyways. There we go. Now I got him to work. Alright. So Shift S. Alright. We'll go out of edit mode here and just hold down the tilde key again. Pretty much everybody's nice and connected. Alright. So now all you need to do is go ahead and go to your alpha, open him up, go to transfer, now do a grab dock, and there you go. You grabbed all the depth information and it's all tileable. That's what we want. So go ahead and export, and typically you want to save him as a TIFF. Alright, cool. Now let's go ahead and I'm just going to initialize, get back to the beginning here. Alright, so let me initialize again. You don't want to have panels open when you initialize. So there we go. Now we're back at full screen. So now for the fun stuff. So let's go ahead and we're going to just work with primitives right now. So let's go ahead and do a ring 3D. This one turns out really cool. Change my material to basic real quick. And go ahead and drag and draw one onto the screen. T for edit. Alright, so now we got a basic ring 3D. Don't even worry about initializing or anything. So we're just going to keep it as is. Make polymesh 3D. So now it's editable. And with your sphere and ring 3Ds, they already have UV maps on them, so which is kind of handy. So if you go to, let's go ahead and start applying a texture here. Alright, so we're going to open up our surface. We're going to do noise. We're going to click UV. And we are going to load up our alpha we just did. And I've told you in past tutorials, always save it as a TIFF. The file's larger, but you get a lot less jaggies, and it'll build in all that anti-aliasing for you. So now let's go ahead. We want to do a flip H down here. We want to get rid of basic noise. Lower him all the way down, and then we can increase the strength. Okay, so now we can start seeing our texture come through. So right now the scale is pretty large, so all you have to do is just lower your scale. Alright, so we'll increase the height there. Now here's the fun part. On that offset right there, since we had that black part of the depth, we're going to make that go away. So do a minus 0.01 offset. Boom. Now we got all these nice little panels on here. Pretty cool, right? So now it looks like a lattice or a frame into a ship or something. So let me zoom in here so you can see. Really hope they fix this interface on this noise maker. It's a little cumbersome. I don't like having to go find all these buttons here. So we will increase, there we go. Now we got even more detail coming in. Just be careful on that strength size, because it does it relatively. So if you got a large scale closer to 1, it'll extrude far out. So let's go ahead and click OK and do visibility on your model. Nope, not visibility. See, this is why I have all this stuff right here. No, no. Display properties, that's it. Double. So now we can see both sides of the normal. Alright, so it's flat and kind of boring right now. Go ahead and do a BPR. Let that render out real fast. Alright, now we can see it is projecting everything out for us, giving it a lot more depth. Let me scale up here. I want to show you some problems with. So, okay. So you remember we put that one curve, or not a curved panel, but it was it went at an angle. It was off the 90-degree axis and all that. So when it projects it out, you end up with these jagged lines in here. Whoops. Control Z that. So that's something you're going to have to remember when you do this. You're going to end up with artifacts like that if you don't have a nice squared model. So we look at this edge here in BPR. It's going to be projected perfectly out. See? It's nice and smooth and nice actual panel right there. So that's kind of the limitations with this. So let's go ahead and go back to our surface here. Edit. I'm going to bring down the strength just a little bit, about half of what it was. We don't need to project it out that far. Alright, so I am kosher with that. So now to really start adding more depth to our model here, and it's a real simple trick. All you got to do is go to your subtool. But first, I want to turn on dynamic subdivision. Just crank him up to like 5, so this way it's nice and smooth when it renders out. So now we can go to subtool, and doing that dynamic subdivision doesn't affect really your file size any, which is nice. So you can have these real small files. So let's go ahead and duplicate him. Go down to deformation, inflate, actually deflate, and turn solo off. And as you can see, now we got like an extra. Now we're going inwards, which is great. We're going to add more depth to it. Doesn't look like much at the moment, but if you go to surface and edit and just adjust your scale a little bit, either make it bigger or smaller. Click OK. And there you go. Now we're getting this real nice layered effect. So let's BPR him again. Pretty cool, right? Well, let's keep on going. It doesn't take long to make one of these, initially anyways. So go ahead, duplicate, deformation, and deflate, not inflate. We're actually going negative on inflate. Alright. So let me show you something, nice thing about having dynamic subdivision. So I'm going to solo him real quick. And, we'll change up the surface just a little bit here. We'll scale him down where he's a little smaller there. See, there's a lot of things you can do with dynamic subdivision that you can't do with regular subdivision. Like you can manipulate the UVs of the model. So say like you can flip the UVs, flip the U, or you can flip the V, which kind of gives you weird artifacts with this particular way this UV is set up here. Or you can just switch U and V, and it give you a totally different style of texture. And also you can do mirror and weld with dynamic subdivision on. So let me Control Z back here before I started manipulating all these UVs. Alright, so let's do that mirror and weld again. And let's see where that seam is, where where it comes together. It looks like right here. This is where you can get some really interesting effects. So let's go back to surface, edit, zoom out just a little bit so we see what's going on here. Start scaling. See, now it's nice and mirrored on both sides, which is kind of cool. Oh, cool. Saucer. I'll just go with that for now. It's upside down. But that's easy fix. Or is it right side up? I don't know. I always lose my orientation with primitives. And turn solo off. Kind of hard to see him down there. But, you know, you can always just put him on the outside. So you just go to deformation and inflate him back out. We'll put him on the outside if it lets me. It's almost there. There he is. Yeah, the preview is a little wonky, so you just kind of got to get used to it, or tap a BPR every once in a while. Now you can see we got this interesting looking ship, flying saucer or whatnot. So, okay, well, let me show you this then. So let me delete others. Just go into your subtools, hit delete others. So basically we're starting over here, but we're starting with this nice symmetrical one. You can, remember we have dynamic subdivision on, so it's still a pretty low poly model. So you could go ahead and manipulate this to your heart's content. And this is basically how I created that cyborg at the beginning. I actually took one of these rings and started moving it around, created the body, and I'll show you the model here shortly. And then I just worked with the shape and seen what the texture was doing, and then I went from there. So, okay, so you say like that shape. So let's continue on. Back in your subtools, duplicate, start the whole process again. Deformation, and just a little inflate. There we go. So go back to your surface, edit, and change the scale. Oh, cool. Alright. Looks like we're kind of making a ship here. I think that's what I originally tried to do a couple days ago, but I ended up with a cyborg. See, this stuff is so cool. I mean, you can explore this and get so many different ideas. Just happy accidents is what I call them. And look at that. Just 2 rings is creating that. 2 rings and 1 texture. BPR one more time. That's pretty cool. And of course you're probably asking, well that's great, but can I get that into other applications? Yes and no. Okay. This will work perfectly into Keyshot. It will actually convert the texture into an actual model and send it into Keyshot for you. You can actually go to subtool, not subtool, geometry, and just do a convert to BPR. Usually I apply the dynamic subdivision first, and then do convert. And there it is. It's a full-fledged model now. The only downside is it's a hollow model. There's no back facing to any of these things. Maybe the next Zbrush will give us that. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool if it did. So let's go back. Alright, so let's do one more thing here. Let's go ahead and go to Subtool. and we will append a sphere 3D. Alright. And let's go ahead and select him. Scale. Okay. Move everybody up here. And then we will go ahead and we're going to turn X on. Yeah, I think we are going to work on a ship. Alright, so we got that. Let's go ahead. I want to do mirror and weld real quick. Alright, so this way we get a symmetrical texture going on here. Go ahead and go back to your surface, noise, or actually you could do, let me go back to one of these, go to him, and edit, copy, cancel, go back to him, and let's, before we do anything, dynamic subdivision, raise it up just a little bit, there we go, and go ahead, now we can do our surfacing. Sorry guys, I'm jumping back and forth here, but it's a pretty cool idea and you can see what you could do with it. Now go ahead and paste. So the texture is really large for it, so we want to bring it back down a little bit. So let me see if I can do something a little bit better here. Alright, oh, that's a start. Okay, so go to deformation, actually subtool first, duplicate, deformation, do inflate or deflate. Now go back to your surface, edit, and go ahead and change your scale. Oh, cool. That'll work. And I'm going to do one more. Deformation, subtool first, duplicate, deformation, deflate. Okay. Surface, edit. That, or we can just change our alpha, turn it off, and then back on. And let me go to, no, not that one. Let me go back to one that I did previously. Alright, I'll add him in here, scale him up. Have alphas with a little bit of negative space, the black, and have ones with a lot of negative space. It really comes in handy. And there you go. So let's go ahead BPR him and see how he looks. So obviously we would probably want to get more on the outer ring there, do a couple more levels there. Let me frame him up. Frame the whole thing up. BPR. Okay. Looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. I like it. So you can see the possibilities are endless with this thing. Be careful if you do a bunch of BPR to Geo. These can generate from anywhere from 1 million to 4 million polygons just in one subtool. So you want to be very careful when you do it. You're going to have an extremely large file, or just leave it as this and do BPR to Geo to create your concepts and stuff like this. That's what this really is. This is more just a concepting tool, but it's pretty powerful. You can get a lot of neat ideas for concepting and illustrations, and so I'm going to go ahead and close up this guy, and I'm going to open up my little cyborg here. Just gotta find her. Where'd she go? Alright, fine. Desktop. Let's see how she looks on here. And there she is. And basically, it's the same process that we just went through. None of these are at BPR to Geo right now. They're just all the ring 3Ds, which wrap around here, go down throughout her body. And then, like I said, we've got... Let me turn that floor off. It's bugging me. We got a couple spheres in here to kind of help fill in the void. And then I took one of my head models that I did last year and used a GUV or PUV tile for the UV map on it. So that's why it doesn't tile up, you know, it breaks it up, but it worked for what I needed it to do. Same thing with the arms. I actually just ripped them off of the Julia model that comes included with Zbrush. I just took one of the arms off and split it at the elbow and the wrist and the shoulder, and then created some I don't know, kind of a shoulder guard type thing with it too. And then that's the same thing, GUV tile, and this whole model just uses one text or two textures actually. So let's look at one of these. So we'll look at that one, solo. As you can see, there it is. There was where I originally started with, and I could see when I started manipulating the textures, I noticed like this cavity void right here with like this little mouth guard, and I was like, ooh, it'd be kind of cool if I could put one of my model heads in there, and I did, and that's what I did. So if you let me turn off noise, and you can see what it looks like. That's it. That's all that initial model is. You know, it's just 2048 point model ring that I just kind of formed in semi-female form there, and applied a noise to it. But I moved everything around according to how the texture was setting up. So same thing with everything else. So let's go look at look at one of the arms. And it was a real simple model, so let me turn that off. As you can see, that's it. That's all there is to it. There's nothing crazy about it. You know, it's just a simple low poly model with dynamic subdivision on it. So let me turn solo back off. And that's really it for this model. It was just building on layers and giving more depth to your greebles, which is really cool. So really not much more to say. I definitely want to see what you guys are making with this technique. Granted, I did steal this technique a little bit from Joseph Drust. He had an architectural video that he did just recently, and that's where I got the idea from. Kind of took it to the next level, and If you guys have any questions, definitely hit me up on YouTube, Facebook, Google Plus, or definitely on ZBrush Central. And let me see what you're doing. I want to see what you're making with this. I want you to make some cool models that look extremely complex, but really aren't complex at all. So, thanks for viewing. Thanks for liking all my videos and subscribing to me. I appreciate it, and I hope to have some more in the future for you. You guys have a great day.